Well, welcome into the Mad Monday podcast for a Thursday episode. The team list is out now, so we've got our opportunity to delve into that. We can go through some Supercoach ramifications, and because the markets are out on the TAB, we can place our game day good punt as well. Of course, as always, we're brought to you by 4 and 20 Pies, the perfect at-home snack for watching rugby league or for tinkering with your Supercoach team for hours and hours and hours on end. Head into the Mad Monday Munters group. It's now live on Facebook. There's plenty of people in there who are happy to help you out with your Supercoach picks, and if you need somewhere to vent on the team list, you can do that as well. You can get in touch with us on there. You can have an argument with a stranger in the comments. Supercoach, of course, back for 2024. Go and join that group. The code is 287823. But because you won't remember that, it's all in the Facebook group. Signed Warriors jersey and bragging rights on the line for that one as well. Adam is joining me today for the preview. And Adam, the team list's out. It's sitting in front of you now. I guess the biggest ins are DWZ's back and Kirk Capewa's back as well. That's going to be huge for the Warriors. You take on the Manly Seagulls, a tough challenge this weekend.
Yeah, no, massively. And I think I'm correct here. You were at that last game that they were at home, and
yes.
How amped was the crowd just to see Kirk Capewa? Like,
I love him.
I remember when he was coming out on the ground, you just had number 12, Kirk Capewa, and it just went berserk.
Yeah.
That's what you want at a home ground, and that's what we need to keep there. And having Dallin back is, it's insurance, right? It's a safe set of hands there,
yeah.
and that's all we want there, right?
And it was probably a precaution. Not that we knew we were going to win that game against Souths last week, but I do think it seemed a little bit more precautionary than anything, because there's such a spectrum of hamstring issues. He just had a bit of a hamstring niggle, and then at the other end of that, you've got Bunty R4, who's going to be out for like 6 weeks with a hamstring strain. Which is unfortunate for us. That drops him off the bench. And as you look at the bench, it's quite different than what we've seen in the last few weeks. And I also suspect it's going to be the actual bench that we start the game with, because usually they'll name a team and then they completely change it out. The bench as it stands reads Chanel Harris-Tavita, Tom Ale, Jazz Tavanga, good to see him back on there, named at 16, and Jacob Laban, who got his debut last week and played so well that they're going to put him back on again. I think he's almost the one that's in for Bunty as opposed to Tom Ali. I think Tom Ali was always going to be on there. Yeah,
no, I agree, and I think it's really good for the side as well that you have a 19-year-old come on last week, ruffle some feathers, and you put a bit of confidence back into him just to go back out there and run it again. Imagine, hey, 19 years as a 19-year-old is a very long time ago for me. Imagine being 19-year-old, running out in front of that stadium and just having the time of your life. And like he didn't look his age as well. And it's I've read around a few different places this week, and there was a lot of hype about how it's really nice that he is a homegrown lad, a Wellington guy, and he stayed around, and he is getting what he deserves. And I think that was something that missed a lot of Kiwi guys, because they were just flying overseas, and we were missing out on a lot of this amazing talent. And he's a talented player, man. It's really, really good to see.
It's a great point that this is, for the longest time we talk about the Warriors being the pathway for rugby league players in New Zealand, but we don't actually see it happening. So for nothing else, that's inspiring. But what I loved about it is, they put the video out of him getting his jersey and whatever. Yeah. And he got up, he stood up there, and he thanked his mum, and he thanked his family, and he goes, and I don't want to sound like an eat-ass, but I really want to thank myself, because I could have been out on the piss, I could have been out doing this, I could have been doing that, and I stuck with this, and it's finally paid off, and I just really want to thank myself for doing that. And I thought that could have gone real bad. That could have been like, imagine getting your jersey and standing up and be like, just want to thank myself, because people would immediately be off you. But the way he did it, it was just like, yeah, get on this guy,
Yeah, well, it makes me think that, it can come across in two very different ways, but I guess that's a bit of confidence from the lad as well, and just kind of saying, it kind of shows a lot more maturity than I think a lot of young players would have as well, because he is right. There's even players in their mid to late 20s that do all those things, end up on social media and that. But it sounds like a very confident young lad, and that's definitely what we saw last week. So it should be exciting to see what he brings this week.
We filmed something with Adam Pompey, Chance Nickel-Clockstad, and Marcelo Montoya earlier on in the week for Trust Motors. So we went out there and got them to pick a car, and we interviewed them driving around in the car that they picked. All of those guys had nothing but good things to say about old Jakey Laban. All of their faces lit up whenever they talked about him. So I think that's a massive sign going forward. Marcelo Montoya just about killed me in some souped-up AMG Mercedes that skidded out. Those videos will be out in a couple of weeks, so make sure you look out for Marcelo Montoya just about killing myself and Di Henwood. Back to the bench, though, just quickly. Freddie Lussick is out. I don't know if you saw the charge down in the New South Wales Cup, but it was on Lachlan Ilias, and it snapped his leg. You can see his leg bend. It's exactly why the refs yell nothing late. It's exactly why there's so many rules around protecting the kicker, because they are in such a vulnerable spot. Unfortunately, Freddie Lussick got himself in a bad spot, and I think he's got somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks for his efforts.
Yeah, it's up there. And the weird thing, if I'm right here, I think it was very late in the game. Like, it was quite late, and they were winning, and it's just one of those things that I'm sure he immediately regretted, and it was a horrific watch.
6 weeks, I think. The long and short of that is Chanel Harris-Tavita is going to be back on the bench at 14, and while you never want to see a player in your team out because of injury or suspension, I'm quite happy to see Chanel in the reserve dummy hooker sort of role. I think he brings so much to the team, and obviously off the bench he can cover just about everything. I think we've said it on almost every podcast this year. Between him and Jazz, you can piece together a bit of a dummy half sort of situation. I just love Chanel Harris-Tavita, and any opportunity we can get to squeeze him back in there. Because I think looking at the bench, Chanel Harris-Tavita, I think he stays there. I think Tom Ali goes for Dylan Walker, Jazz Tavanga stays there, and then Marata Niukore comes in. I think that's our bench come playoffs.
And you can't complain with that at all. That is a spicy, spicy bench. And it's actually quite nice for CHT as well, because I'm sure he would have been, probably actually wouldn't have been confused because of this team first nature that the Warriors are so strong on at the moment, which is amazing. And he had an amazing game after not playing much league a couple of weeks ago, comes on, covers, and it's just good that there's a bit, there's that confidence in him to make sure that, hey, anything that's needed, he's the man to step up, and it's amazing, right?
And it speaks to the depth that the Wires have at the moment. If you have a look at their reserves, 18 through 23, Adam Pompey, who played every minute of last year, Tain Tuopiki, Zion Maiu, who I think is going to make his debut this year and have an absolute blockbuster as well. The Cozzy Club, Ed Cozzy, Ali Leatawa, like any of these guys could come into the first team and just be absolutely excellent. So I'm pretty excited at the depth that we've got going on. On the other side of the ledger, the Manly Sea Eagles, Turbo, who's starting around into form a little bit out the back there. Tommy Talau, who scored one of the most controversial tries in recent memory last week. Tolu Kola as well. Ben Trebojevic moves into the centres from second row. That's some big news. That's because Ruben Garrett got his head taken off last week. Luke Brooks has been playing okay. And Daly Cherry Evans, they got Paseka, Croker, Aloye. I think Paseka might be the second biggest prop on God's green earth. Haumole Olakauatu is about the same size. Corey Waddell and Jake Trebojevic back at 13. So a pretty good team in the Manly Sea Eagles. They've got a loss in them. They've got stars across the board. But for me, Adam, I see this as another Warriors win. If I was putting money on it, I would say 1-12 as opposed to 13 plus. But it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fair there. I
guess for the Manly Sea Eagles.
I'm glad you corrected that. I think you're pretty right. I do think that this is like another very big test for us, because you just have a couple of live wires in there. Like if Turbo all of a sudden just absolutely rips through the line, because we saw that a couple of weeks of Ponga as well. Like there were still moments where an amazing player can make the break, and we need something special to do it. But you're right. It's going to be very hard to keep Olakauatu out around that line as well. So he is one short ball away from scoring most times that he's down within the 10-metre line. So
and their whole game plan is get Olakauatu one-on-one with the standoff from the other team. So Tamati Martin's really got to hope that Olakauatu looks up, looks for the number 6, finds Tamati Martin, and is turned to stone by how beautiful he is, and just can't find a way through the line. I think that's going to be our biggest our biggest issue.
Yeah, and Tamari Martin, not a bad defender as well.
Nah.
Like I know that's
He's
no
handy.
consolation going against 150 kegs of sheer godlike muscle, but I think it's going to be a good test, and I just hope surely the crowd will be up for it again.
Yeah.
And it's just we just need to make this our fortress, and we just need to cash checks at this point, especially at home.
Yep. The commentary will be on Sky Sport 9 as well. I believe it is
5 p.m.
5 p.m. and it's Dye and Hurley.
Correct.
All of a sudden become very available for commentaries now that we can do them back at the grounds.
Yes, you mentioned this earlier, a little bit fishy. And, I do remember as well you saying it's been quite a long time that you've had a chance to be on the commentary.
I haven't done a game from Mount Smart Stadium yet, but that's actually been quite handy because I can go just as a fan. But
maybe you'll get the call up soon. I don't know. Maybe one of these spots will free up for some odd reason. I don't know. What? Any thoughts?
Hurley gets a flat tyre in the Eastern Bay of Plenty. I don't know. Anyway, the commentary will be on at 5 p.m. Sky Sport 9, which is on your Sky box. If you haven't listened to it on the app, it's just a separate channel. So just keep scrolling through until you get to Sky Sport 9. Don't get put off if you go on there and it's playing surfing highlights or something. Just click on it and watch from live, and it'll pick up when we're on. So make sure that you check that out. Time for a quick break. We'll be back with some Supercoach. It's one of my favourite parts of the week. Teamless Tuesday comes out, and I sit there and make trades, reverse them, make trades, reverse them, make trades, reverse them, watch a bunch of podcasts, listen to the Mad Monday guys give their expert analysis, and then eventually leave someone on my starting lineup who's not playing. And this week is no different. I think there's a few standout buys this week, so we'll start there. Schiller is the first one that jumps out, Schiller's list. He is going to be playing on the wing for Ricky Stewart's Raiders this week. They've got a lot of different injury ramifications. Last week, Jordan Rapana dislocated his knee. It looked horrendous. They popped it back in, let him go out there and play. He finished the game out and then realised that he'd actually done his meniscus and the same thing. So he's going to be out for a while. I think he's like 34, so there's going to be a lot of jiggery-pokery in the back three. Does Xavier Savage go back there? How do they play this whole thing? They've brought in my cousin Chevy Stewart to play in there. He could be another buy as well. But the thing about Schiller is that he has a negative 117 break-even, and he scored in the 90s last week.
I can tell you, he round 4 he scored 77, and round 5 he scored 112.
112?
So it's projected that this week, yes, it's berserk, man. So it's predicted this week that even, I think the threshold for making a trade is around 100 grand.
Around 100 grand. You want to be making at least $100,000 on the trade by either that player going up or by coming down in salary.
Yeah, so he is projected at the moment to earn you $142,000. So even if he only has one more week in him, that could be a check worth cashing come the next few weeks, because, mate, it's only every other team is only one injury away from needing to make 15 trades, you know? So it could be a great pickup.
It is a great pickup, particularly if you've got Blaise Talangi, who made you a lot of money last week and then got dropped this week. You don't really know what the future is there. You could either ride him out or you can swap to this guy. It's a sideways move. You're going to make another, 140K?
142.
142. There's even the chance that he keeps scoring massively throughout the rest of the year. I mean, he's going to make more money from here. What does he cost at the moment, Schiller?
Oh, it is low, man.
Yeah.
Schiller is 238 grand. So this is the perfect time that if you have some nuffy, you just have someone on your bench that's doing next to nothing. And that could be Talangi. That could be, you could have picked up Leatawa or someone like that at the start of the year. This is the perfect time to jump off and just cash the check, man. Yeah,
and even if you just end up trading him away next week, I mean, that could help you get to Cleary next week when he comes back. It could help you do all sorts. There's a massive... I think a lot of teams have a lot of money floating around this year. I think the combination of Haas, not a lot of people were on Haas, but the people that were, and then Cleary meant that a lot of people have got a lot of cash. And so I don't know that there's a lot of teams that need to be scrounging around for cash, but if you are in that position, and you have Dom Young, this is a clear one. He scored minus 14 last week. Joel Harrison captained him.
Amazing.
And for those of you out there, yes, it does double negative points. So he had negative 28, which is an all-timer. He gained a lot of fans over the weekend, though, Dom Young, with the old Sonny Bill ripped shirt situation.
Yeah, how hot.
Yeah, my missus among them. And so there's a clear way, because he's on almost 700K, so there's a clear way to make a lot of money if you wanted to try and jump up to like a Ponga, or if you wanted to, get a bit of cash in for next week to get Cleary in. Another one, Joey Manu, he's going to be playing at fullback this week, probably only this week. It's up in the air as to whether Teddy's just gone for the 1 week. Is he going to be gone for longer? It was a pretty bad knockout. And we know when Manu goes back to fullback, he goes bang.
But it's crazy that someone's so amazing and safe in centre. When he plays fullback, he just looks like one of the top 3 fullbacks in the league. And that's kind of outrageous to say, but damn, he's a kind of player that when he has the ball in hand, he gets to run it a lot more.
Yeah.
It's a lot more obvious how good or great he is. And I feel like he just let him loose, let him fly.
Just another reason why I hate Tedesco. And none of those reasons have anything to do with Tedesco. It's one that everyone talked about him and not RTS as the best fullback for years. And now it's that he's just keeping our boy Joey out of the limelight. The other one for me, because front row forward since Haas went down has been a bit of a shit show for me, just because of injuries. I've never had the trades available to sort it out. Josh Curran has just been given front row forward eligibility. He's named at number 12. He's basically been playing most of the game between 12 and in the middle. So they've given him that front row forward eligibility. And that's a good way, similar to sort of Ruben Cotter, where it's an easy way to sort that front row out, sort the cover second row as well. And it just means that you don't have to think about front row again.
Yeah, and I also think it's a good point to bring up is that it's so underrated having movement in the front of your pack, because you just never know what's going to happen. So even if you just have a couple, like I think on my bench I have my front row via Fafita who can switch around. Yeah. It's like if you can have 2 or 3 of those.
Viliami Fafita, not to be confused with the former All Black via Fafita.
Yep, no, my bad on that one. But it's if you have a few of those, no matter which way they stack up, it is just so helpful as the year goes down. So
because I've got him too. Because the difference is in front row you've got 2 starters, two bench. In second row you've got essentially 2 extra players because you've got 3 starters, 3 bench. So yeah, you're right. It does get really confusing and tricky when you're trying to move dudes around. All of a sudden, one's only front row eligible. And now you're kind of screwed from a trade perspective.
Yeah, and especially because a lot of people's front rows, there's just no one out there in the market. So
wasteland.
Yeah, wasteland. Like I have May and Fleckler, who both should have been not too bad last week, and both got me 30-ish points kind of each.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of situation you are in the front row. At least Curran, he's consistently putting out numbers, even though he's coming off the bench, and then maybe one stray week he's going to get 80 minutes. And to be honest, the way that team's playing, he probably should just be starting, and they just need to figure that out, eh?
Yeah. Oh, Curran is starting this week in the second row. For me, it was a toss-up between Josh Curran and Ruben Cotter, and I was thinking I probably trust Ruben Cotter a bit more. I know he's integral to that Cowboys team, so he's going to get a lot more minutes, and it's going to be a lot more stable than Curran, despite Curran having a higher upside. Then I had a look at the numbers to see if that was true, and it's just not. It just hasn't been true. He's been 50 or more every game this week, Josh Curran. The minutes are there. I think the attacking upside's there, and I love that he was at the Warriors right up until last year. So I'm going to go with Curran. The only other ones that we had on our buy list, Jai Gray. He is the one that they're going to be bringing in at fullback for South Sydney. God, they could do with Blake Taft this week. He is very young. He's like 19.
Yeah, very young. And I think you probably brought up one of the stronger points I've heard in this argument, especially because he is, if we're right, you can only buy him in 5'8", which could actually help out a lot of people. And I think for some people, they'll probably get excited thinking that this could be a way that they could make a bit of money and I guess get off something like Dylan Brown or someone like that. Like imagine if you could find someone like this and you had Galvin plus this young gun.
You're making money.
You're making so much money and you're able to move it around. And however, you brought up a massive point, and I think we should get to that.
Well, the other thing is Latrell out for 3 weeks. So in theory, you look at it and you go, basement price, going to make money over the 3 weeks because that's how long they need to play to make money. and you think it's almost a no-brainer, but from what everyone's saying this week, Jason Demetriou is probably going to get sacked after this week. So it's like, what happens? So, okay, this guy comes in for 1 week to cover Latrell. Jason Demetriou gets sacked and they bring in Mal Meninga and Madge Maguire. Then what? Because I don't think either of those guys are going to play a 19-year-old, you know. This does feel like a death rattle from Jason Demetriou. Just like, fuck it, throw this kid out there, save my career. But so that for me, I wouldn't be going anywhere near that. And your mate was telling you he's about 60 kilos with a rock in his pocket.
Yeah, he is a very, very slight guy as well. And I would say if it was wet again this weekend, I haven't looked at the weather, but after all the injuries last weekend, you just never know. And I do think you're quite right, because Demetriou could have lost his job simply by just dropping Cook this week. He could have just done that on the way out of being like, you know what, I know I'm going. I'm just going to prove a point and I'm just going to drop that. But it is interesting, because I jumped on the Blaze Talangi mainly because his name was Blaze, and I didn't feel like I could have left him behind.
Powerful name.
And I thought that he was not a trap, and this guy screams trap 10 times louder than him. So just make sure you think about it. Don't think about the money necessarily in this one, and just think that there's probably a new coach next week.
And don't DM us when he scores 120 and is in for the rest of the season. The last one that I wanted to talk about was Angus Crichton. I think he is the third most traded in player this week. When I had a look at he's at about $400,000, and I think he scored 83 points on the week. And he is a textbook fallen superstar, where he was one of the greats of Supercoach for a few years there. Might have had a couple too many milkshakes over in Amsterdam, and then sort of been in and out for a while. He had a great game last week. I think he's starting again this week. The problem is he started last week in place of Sitili Tupouniua, who is back in off the bench this week. On top of that, you've got Terrell May, who's going gangbusters. Lindsay Collins is back in this week. You've then got Nat Butcher on the bench. Egan Butcher? Whichever Butcher plays there as well. I actually think they both do. What I'm saying is there's a lot of competition for minutes, to where I don't know if he has a lot of work to do to shore up an 80-minute position in that team, and a team that's also massively underperforming. So Crichton could be a trap, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I had Crichton in my team for about 5 minutes this week.
Yeah.
And then traded him back out. So I guess I'm sitting on the fence. My gut says trap. It's a trap. My gut says Admiral Akbar from Star Wars. It's a trap. Turn back.
Yeah, well, if you look at I'm just looking at his minutes played. Round 3, 25 minutes. Round 4, 26 minutes. Round 5, 80.
Yeah.
You know, and I think he could be... Wait one more week, just one more week. And even if he notches up a good 60 with a lot of these guys coming back, he's probably going to score 55, 60. And at 400K, he could be a nice little buy to have on your bench, or just make sure you've just got something ticking away and for that cover. But you're 100% right. That team has no idea what's going on at the moment in that pack. But
it's a trap.
You just need to make sure he's on your watch list, because we could be saying just as easily next week, sign this man up. He is the best pick of the round, and that's how quickly it can change.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right, just before we knock this thing on the head, TRB Game Day Good Punt, we have a $100 bonus bet to place on basically whatever we want, but we generally stick to the Warriors here each week. And this week, this is a huge Omen punt. There's a couple of reasons why. The first is we had a message on the Agenda podcast. Go and listen to that one now. Somebody said, because we've been looking for a new chant for the Warriors, someone realised that Marcelo Montoya has the exact same amount of syllables as Waisake Naholo, so why not Marcelo Montoya, Marcelo Montoya. So I think that's a no-brainer. If you're going to the game, get that going if he scores. Even if he doesn't, fuck it, just get it going. I think that's a huge omen. That's one. Second is, as I said at the start of the podcast, he just about killed me this week when we pulled out of the Trust Motors showroom in this souped-up AMG Mercedes. He whipped the tail out and just about crashed us straight off the bat. People come running out the showroom to see what had happened. That video will be out very soon. What I'm saying is he owes me my life. Do I owe him my life? I don't know in my life. He owes me at least $9.50. That's how much he's paying for the first try scorer. So we're going to put a $100 bonus bet on that. That's going to be paying $950. It's just about going to fill the kitty by itself. When that hits $1,000, we're going to pay out 10 people $100 each into their account. And that's not bonus bets. That's cash straight into your account. So keep an eye on that one across the game. We'll have another punt to chuck on the game on the Saturday as well. Sky Sport 9, Di Hurley on the call live from Mount Smart Stadium. Make sure that you get along to that one. Thank you very much for joining me, Adam, and we'll see you on Monday for another episode of Mad Monday.